next thing you know, the police scanner goes off and, we're getting followed by the police. So after breaking the Cannonball run with Alex Roy in 2006, it sort of just fell in my lap. Alex had been a friend. We did the gumball together in '03, and he had tried twice to break it, and once the car broke down, another time it was just sort of a recon run, and the guy he didn't want to go anymore, so he picked me to go with him, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm doing that. So it's not something that like I sought out to do. It's just something that was like I had the opportunity and I had to take it. Here we are almost 20 years since. And, it's certainly given me entree into different areas of the automotive world that I wouldn't have had access to before. People still recognize me from time to time. Like I knew that name when you handed me your business card. He's like, you looked familiar. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, just something I did. But I think it's more than that, as I sit here and talk to this audience about it, it's still sort of a thing. Has it changed my life? I say no, but maybe enhance it a little bit. And just that there's a little bit of notoriety and recognition to it. And, I never set out to write a book or, make a movie about it. But, now there is a movie about it, which also took like 10 years to come out. But, I grew up watching the Cannonball run. And how cool is it now to like have my own movie about doing the Cannonball run? It's kind of neat. The E39 M5, at the time, I remember when that car came out in like 2000, 2001, whatever it was. My dad had a 540i Sport, which was sort of like the little brother to that car. But the M5 was like a big deal. And so Alex Roy had one, and we took it across from San Fran to Miami on the gumball. And, I buried the needle on that thing, like past 185, wherever that needle is. Yeah, BMWs have probably a 10% variance of what the actual speed is, but it's kind of a brutish car, and it's all the right things. A big throaty V8 with a 6-speed manual, and BMW engineering. It's a great machine. It was a bond burner. It was just a great car, a great tool for the job. One that was available. Alex and I certainly had different approaches to our driving style, and approaches to how we are going to break the record. And his idea was maybe a little bit more, how close can we get to the record to break it, but not going the sledgehammer approach and just doing everything you can to go as fast as you can. That was obviously my approach. So Alex was much more measured. He was much more about building the systems and building the right car and the right countermeasures so that it could do this as undetected as possible, and flying Paul Weissman overhead to have a lookout. And I knew I needed to get the car and drive fast. He knew that 92 miles an hour, 93 miles an hour would be the average to break it. My 2 6-hour stints from Ohio to Oklahoma, my average speed was 114 miles an hour. And, Alex was trying to tell me, Dave, I wouldn't do that here. I like that move on gumball. I don't like it here. And then, I turn over the car to him in Oklahoma, and first thing he does is cut somebody off, and we get called in by the police right away. So he's like, yeah, sometimes you just got to do it. And, next thing you know, the police scanner goes off, and, we're getting followed by the police. But I think his method, my method, we got the job done. We got to California. We're about 100 miles out from finishing, and we're both delirious after being up for 30 odd plus hours. And the one thing we didn't have on the trip was just a stopwatch. So I'm trying to do how long we've been driving, minus what time it is, minus the 3-hour time difference. And, I finally had it worked out in my head, and trying to do math at that level of delirium was just, not working out great. But I realized that we were probably going to break the record, but we might not break it by over an hour. And I wanted that buffer of an hour to, really punctuate the fact that we broke the record. And I told him, I said, if you don't average 100 miles an hour from here to the finish line, we're not going to break the record. And that was going to get us in over an hour. The previous record was 32:07. We did 31:04, and he did it. He averaged over 100 miles an hour, and I was on him. I was like, you got to get going. You got to hustle. I set the fear of God in him, and he made it happen. I mean, he was driving like a banshee for that last 100 miles, and straight through downtown LA at 2 a.m. And at that point, the adrenaline had kicked back in, and so we knew we were in sight of the finish, and we knew we were going to get there. And that was an exciting part of the trip, that last hour going in. When I bought my 550, I remember the Rawlings Collins car because Dennis Collins had actually used that car on the 2003 Gumball. So I was familiar with that car. I knew that car and always loved that car. It really wasn't a consideration of mine when I bought my car. That was a Cannonball car. I know that it can do it. I bought the car because it was the cheapest front engine V12 with the manual I could afford. Alex and I are still good friends. I called him yesterday. He was picking up his daughter from school and said he'd call me right back, and texted me a picture of his daughter, and he's like, he's busy with her, so I didn't want to get in the way of that. But we're still good friends. He's living out in Arizona now because that's where his daughter is. And it was fun when he was down in Miami. When I was down in South Florida, we saw a little bit more of each other and had him out on my boat. We're still good friends. He'll always be a good friend of mine. And in fact, our friendship might be better today than it's ever been. It's just, he'll ask me how my dad's doing because my dad's, going through some health issues right now. And, I get to ask him about how he's going. He's taken on being a dad, and he's a good dad, and it's fun to see him take on that role. But yeah, we're great friends. So there was a recent Cannonball competitive event that I was signed up for and was planning on doing again with one of the original US Express guys. And we had sort of secured a 65 Mustang GT350R that he had sort of orchestrated through some of his connections. And at the last minute, it kind of fell through. And I was pretty excited about going on a competitive Cannonball event in what would be kind of a cool hot rod. I think the thing was going to have like 460 horsepower and weigh like 2,800 pounds. So I don't know how the fuel economy was going to be, but they were going to put a bigger fuel cell in for us and change the gearing. And I was kind of excited to do it. Excited to do it in actually a more of a race environment than just like a time trial against the clock. But I had just taken my 993 Turbo from Delray to Monterey for the Rennsport reunion and back. After driving all of those miles on the highway, I sort of thought to myself, the last thing I want to do right now is get in a car and race across country and risk my license and, all of the other negative things that go along with driving cross country or racing across country in such a way. So yeah, when I broke the record in 2006, it was very much an underground thing and nobody was out really doing it or trying to do it that we knew of anyway. And when we finished this thing, I guess Rawlings and Collins had done it. They technically did it after we did it, and I think their time was 31:59. So whatever record they may have set or not have set, I don't know. That was the next thing we had ever heard about it. We were still sort of in our statute of limitations hush period at the time, if you want to call it that. And now it seems like there's a whole bunch of people, and certainly COVID certainly sparked a whole resurgence of people trying to set the record because ideally that was the best time to do it. I'm good friends with Doug and Arnie, who are the current record holders. They were just down in Homestead for a ARCA race and got to hang out with those guys, and Doug comes down to visit me, and we're friendly, and we just have this common thing that we've done and common sense of camaraderie with the people that have done it, and it's a cool thing.
We'd like to thank this month's sponsor of the VINwiki YouTube channel, Minta Watches. We know the world of great cars and great watches tends to overlap a lot, and Minta specializes in remarkable timepieces, both vintage and modern, because they know that great watches also have great stories. So if you're looking for some entertaining and educational watch content, be sure to check out Adam's YouTube channel. And if you're in the market for a watch or you just want to learn more about watches, be sure to reach them at the link in the description below. They'll take great care of you.